In this video, I'm going to show you how to create 10 different games using WebSim.AI. It's a follow-up to the video I did last week on building a component for a GPT agent framework. What we'll look at are classic games like Tetris, Asteroids, and Wordle, but also more modern style of games that might be useful in an AI agent framework. I'm Appy Dave. Let's get into it. Head over to Google and type in WebSim.AI, and when you click on the link, you'll be brought to a screen like this, and down below are a bunch of games and applications that people have already created. Now, last week in my first looks at WebSim.AI, I took an application that I have, a GPT workflow engine, and I was able to add in this new component, and it allowed me to go backwards and forwards by clicking here and ending back on a workflow screen. Now, all of this took me about 20 minutes just using WebSim.AI to do the work. So from here, we'll head back to WebSim.AI, and this is where you can start a new application just by writing a prompt. One of the things that you can do is select the large language model. I'm just going to work with Sonnet 3.5. That's what I used last time, and it worked quite well. But let's work out what it is we're going to build. So if we head over to ChatGPT, I've written this prompt here that says, you're going to help me to create 10 different games. The games are going to be written in HTML and JavaScript, and that they're going to be using online artificial intelligence tool called WebSim.AI. So one of the things I've asked it to do is do a search for WebSim.AI so it understands how this tool sort of works. And I've also said I want the prompts to be fairly simple and clear when we're doing this. So I'm trying to find software products or applications from the past, games that have been relatively simple to create. And what it's done is given a list of 20 ideas that we can work with. So I've just enhanced that prompt a little bit further so that we can get 2 different examples for each of the 20 games. So we got things like Pong and Breakout from back in the 70s and Tetris from 1984. So what I've done is then just asked it to give me a short list. Currently it's given me 9, and we'll see that I will get it up to 10 at the end. But before I did that, I thought, let's get some images together to see how these could look. And so these are the images I'll use on the thumbnail. We've got Atari, we've got Missile Command. We may make that one, we'll see. I think Space Invaders would be a great game to create. And then we've got on the Nokia, there was the Snake game. When I asked it to do number 5, which was Pac-Man, it said there's a content policy issue. So I just asked it to rename it to GPT Man. And so we'll create some sort of Pac-Man clone, followed by Tower Defense. And then we can finish off with Asteroids, Word, and Tetris. Now, that was the original 9 it came up with, but I thought I'd love to see Donkey Kong, and hopefully we can round it out to 10 different games in this video. Let's work on the first game. It's the Atari Breakout game, and what I've done is created a little prompt. If I wanted to describe the creation of the game Breakout as a short requirement spec, and also a separate chain of responsibility prompt, how would I do that? Now, what we've got here is a pretty clear list of requirements for the Breakout game. We've got game elements, mechanics, graphics, and design. The only thing, technical requirements using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and responsive may not be needed because this is kind of the default that WebSim.AI would do anyway. As a chain of responsibility, this is the sort of stuff you might do if you wanted to run it in something like Anthropic or ChatGPT. I don't know that I need to worry about it for this particular case. So I think what we'll do is we'll take everything from here all the way through to here, and let's just test it out in WebSim.AI. What we'll do is head over to WebSim.AI, and we're just going to paste all the information that we let ChatGPT create for us, and we'll hit go. And I don't know that this will work. This is probably a little bit more complex than the system would know how to work with, but let's see what happens. So we've got this Breakout play. We've got score up in the left-hand corner. Let's just see. Whoa, now it worked. though I couldn't get the actual paddle to work, I think we can just go in and change the prompt and see if we can add left and right arrows to the movement mechanism. So I've just added a prompt. Can you make the paddle respond to the left and right keys so that I can control movement left and right? The paddle should not go beyond the left and right edge of the screen, and we'll just press go on that and see what it creates. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that the code is being generated and can sometimes be seen up in this blue bar. So we've got a little help message down here. We'll hit play. Oh, look at that. And that's working. And there wow, that's impressive. Heading back to GPT, I just asked one of the classic colors for the game. We've got red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. I also asked if there was ever a missile or bullet system. It said there was in a game called Asteroids. So I said, give me a short prompt. What it's come up with is modify the existing Breakout game, add rows with bricks in the following colors, introduce a power-up, ensure that the power-up is visually distinguishable and can be activated once per game. So we'll just take this information right here. We'll head over and paste it in. And we'll press go and it'll start regenerating the game. We'll press play and look at that. We've got colors. This is looking good. I'm not a very good player at this. And the space doesn't do anything. So the first attempt at altering the game to have colored bars worked fine. But one of the things it didn't do was allow the power up to work from the space bar. So I added in a prompt. The space bar is not firing. Can you fix this? What it did for me was added in this new power up that right here it says space to shoot when the power is active, but it wasn't active and I couldn't figure out how to make it active. So I just added in one more prompt, and that prompt is here. Can you make sure the power up is active at the beginning of the game? Let's just test this out, and we've got it working. Looks good. I just pressed the space button and we saw a bullet come through. So 3 or 4 minutes and we've got this game of Breakout. We should be able to put a bookmark against it. We'll keep that. And the other thing we can do if we click here is we can download the HTML to our computer. So we'll head over to Visual Studio and we've just opened up the HTML page that we downloaded. There's a bunch of CSS going on, a little bit of HTML and elements all being dealt with in JavaScript. So the game itself is relatively simple. If we right click on it and view it as a live server, our game has come up locally. We hit play. And let's say we want to change the red to pink. What we should be able to do is just change the first set of colors here. We'll just make that pink and we'll hit save and it's refreshed the page. And we'll hit play and we now have a pink line up the top. So easy to create a game. It's only a few minutes and then you've got all the code and you can edit it the way you want. Now, before we move on to game number 2, let's just make an alteration to our username. So at the moment, I'm Light Butterfly and a number. What you can do is move over to the left here. There is a little icon here that when you click on it, you can go and change your username. I've just set it to Happy Dave. I've changed my avatar picture here. Other things that you can change is use a custom API key and the default large language model that you want to use. Just press save. We now have a username and logo going on here. So let's try and create the next game, Missile Command. What we've got is the original prompt that we did for Breakout is just here. But if we move to the bottom and alter it a little bit, we'll say the game Missile Command as a short requirement spec. Now, we didn't use the chain of responsibility, so I think we'll just leave it at that and press play and see what happens. And we've got our requirement specs. We'll head over to WebSim and just pretty much paste everything and see what happens with the generation. We've got a little initialization. It's still writing code at the moment. It's looking very similar to the last game we created. Looks like it's finished. We'll just hit play. Now, the first iteration of this, none of the keyboard controls have worked. But what we do have are 5 cities down the bottom of the screen, and we've got 3 missile silos. So let's head over to ChatGPT, and we've got our original prompts that we used to come up with the requirement spec. And if we focus in, you can see I've added this new area. Can you create a separate chain of responsibility prompt? Which is what I said I didn't need this time around, but it seems I did. And what that's doing is giving us a list of actions that you could go through one at a time, which may be the better way to build games at the moment. One of the areas here is the gameplay mechanics, and this is how we should control the different sprites on the screen. Now, it doesn't give us any information here about keyboard or mouse, so I'm just going to extend it a little bit, give me the gameplay mechanics and include keyboard or mouse controls. Make sure you specify which keyboard controls to use. And we've got them listed, and we've got A, S, and D to work from the different missile silos. They're the green ones here. We're also going to support the mouse controls. What you should be able to do is just copy the information that's here. And I've just pasted that information directly into this area here. We've hit play, and I've already done this. So what you can see is that we've now got an A to launch from the left, S to launch from the middle, and D to launch from the right. It should also work with the mouse for aiming and left clicking. Let's give it a whirl. So we'll just hit play, and from this point we can use the mouse to just fire, or if we use A, it comes from the left, S from the center, and D from the right. So this game is working, and it's taken 2 prompts and about 5 minutes of work. At the moment we're 2 down, 8 to go. What we can do is head over, and you've got these areas for bookmarks, and one of the things we should be able to do is publish them and make them live. And we'll come over to this one and press the edit button, and we can publish that, and we should be able to open that one as well. So here's the first one, here's the second one. Everything seems to be working here. Now, just for your information, there may be a little problem you'll run into. I just ran into it now. So at the moment, this is the correct version of the game, and it's all working. But when I bookmarked it, I actually had an older version of the application open when I did the bookmark, and I couldn't undo it. I kept coming in here and pressing the unpublish, republish, and see what happened. But there's this little button up here that you can press called updated, and that will just bring it up to, I believe, the URL that you're on. So if you have an issue where you've accidentally published an older version and you want to change it, it's this little button here called updated that will update the actual URL to the latest version of your game. So let's move over to the third game. So I said, can you describe the creation of the game Asteroids as a short requirement spec in 2 sections? Number 1 is just the look and feel and the general game requirements. And number 2 is the gameplay, because we're finding that if we do them both together, the gameplay doesn't get done anyway. We'll see what it produces here. Section 1 looks good. Let's just copy from this area down to here, and later on we'll come back and look at this. Now, if we go back to the last game we were working on, you can get back to the home by pressing this little button here, and we'll just click on the prompt and paste it in and see what happens. Now it's starting to generate the game here. Classic Asteroids. We've got a play button. It's still loading at the moment, but all looks ready. Let's see what happens if we hit play. And do we have any? We do already have some controls, so that's a good thing to know. We may actually be working right now. Let's go back to the GPT that we had, and I'm still going to add in some extra information. So we'll just click on this and just see what happens if we expand it. I think the main thing that I'm looking to get this time through is just what the controls are going to be shown visually on the screen. We've now got 3 lives. We've got a height score 0. We've got a little bit of a fire coming out of it now. Oh, let's get out of there. And look, it's working just like the original Asteroids. One thing we could do is improve the graphics a little bit. But other than that, this looks great. In fact, let's just try that. And we'll just test with the idea of, can you make the graphics a little bit more realistic? At this point, we've got a new name for it. It's called Hyper-Realistic Asteroids. There's a little bit of a font change going on. We're still loading at the moment, and that's finished. It takes about 30 to 40 seconds to generate, but let's see if it's actually working. So this uncovered another issue to be aware of. So I had it not work, and I said the game has stopped working. And what I didn't notice was that there was the word continue here. So kind of like ChatGPT might just stop midway through a generation, and you can press continue, and we'll just press continue here and it's finished. We'll hit play and there we go. It looks a lot different than before. The graphics are a little bit better, which is what we were after, and fantastic. So the thing I liked here is that it worked with the original requirement spec. I didn't need to do the gameplay controls this time around. When I made it more hyper-realistic, one of the things I didn't take into consideration is that sometimes the generation of the game can take a lot longer than expected, and it will just say continue. And you've got to just look out for that, press the continue. And here we have the updated game. It's got better graphics, but essentially it's the same game. So heading back over to the fourth game, and we've got the Nokia game Snake. And what I've done is altered the prompt a little bit. Can you describe the creation of the game Snake as a short requirement spec? Now, I haven't split out into two sections so much because the controls are really easy with this game anyway. Include the game look and feel, general requirements, game mechanics, and keyboard controls needed. I also want to make sure from now on that we get the keyboard controls printed on the home screen. It didn't happen with the last one, but it has happened with others, so I'm just being a little bit more specific in this particular case. Now, this time it's gone really detailed and broken everything up. Now, we've never tested this as an idea. What I like to do is test things out. So we'll take everything. I generally probably would have made this a simpler prompt than what we're seeing. Head back to WebSim.AI, just click on the home button, click in here, and we'll just paste it all in and we'll see what comes up. Game is being generated at the moment. We're seeing the how to play controls going on here. So we've got up, down, left, and right, and play to start. Now it's still loading, so we'll kick it off, and I'm meant to be eating the food and I missed it, and we are now longer, and it's getting longer as we go. So it looks like the game is working okay. This is awesome. So this actually happened in one prompt. I didn't know how to use it straight away, but this is going well. So one of the things I've noticed here is that when you right click on areas, you can do this edit. So how about we take this and we'll click on edit, and I'm going to type in, change the words classic snake to buy me a coffee, Appy Dave, and we'll press OK. What happens here is it starts regenerating the page again, and hopefully it's just going to focus on that one area. So now if you want to help fund this channel, then check out buymeacoffee.com/AppyDave. Now let's move on to game number 5. And one of the things I ran into was this issue with using the term Pac-Man when it drew the image. And I think we'll deal with that in the game generation as well. So if we head over to the requirement specs that we've got here, and we can see that, can you describe the creation of the game Pac-Man as a short requirement? Include the game look and feel, general requirements, game mechanics. Make sure we've got the screen controls and that they display on the screen. And I'm also going to get it to rename the game to GPT Man. And we'll just press go. We've got the game look and feel, general requirements. I think whatever it produces, we're just going to go with one more time. So we get the retro style graphics. This is all good. The one thing that's a little interesting in here is that we've got the power-ups to allow GPT Man to eat enemies for a short duration. So we'll have to see whether that works. The controls are pretty much the same as we've seen before. So we can just take that information, go back home to start a new game, and then just paste the information in and press. So we'll hit play and see what's going on. And the first thing to notice is it's very fast. So we might want to slow it down. In fact, let's do that. Just see if we can go, can you slow down the speed of movement by half? See if that's something that'll work. It's generating it here. And it's finished. We'll hit play, and things are going a fair bit slower now. Now, at the moment, the other characters aren't moving, so maybe we've broken something in doing this. So I've just mentioned that the opponents never come out of the box and that they're meant to come out like in a regular game of Pac-Man, and that's kind of delayed, so they don't all come out at the same time. So it's just finished. We'll press button and one of them is out. So now it's starting to feel a lot like, and it killed me again. So that's great. We'll just come back here and we'll right click on the GPT man. So we'll just change GPT man to Appy Dave and let it rerun. And now we've got the YouTube channel Appy Dave as the heading here on the game. So let's move on to the 6th game, Tower Defense. And at the moment, they're only taking about 2 or 3 minutes to get each game up and running in a basic form. So we'll just go with another prompt that we've got. Can you describe the creation of a tower defense game? It's the same prompt, just with the words changed. Got things like cartoonish graphics coming through, green landscape with defined path for enemies to follow, towers placed along the path. Let's look at the user interface. So we've got play. We're going to show the keyboard instructions at the beginning of the game, and the enemies are going to come in waves. We've got up, down, left, right. We've also got tower placement, so apparently there can be 5 that we can use, and we can start and pause the game. So we'll head over to WebSim, we'll paste it in and press go, currently initializing the code here, and starting to render some sort of game. We've got our scores in currency and lives up here. Hit play, and it's a very bright color going on at the moment. So far it's not working. I've just said currently I see a red line across the screen. We'll just regenerate the prompt and see if we can get this up and running. We've got clearer instructions showing here. Click to place a tower. Maybe that's something I didn't do before. And spacebar to start or pause the game. And something's moving, so are they meant to shoot? It looks like it's starting to work, but we don't have any bullets coming out. I'm just saying no bullets are coming out of the towers. Hopefully this is enough to get it going. We'll try one more time. And it's, oh, look at that. There's a bullet coming through now. I put in a new prompt here that says, when we get to each new level, can you reset the screen and draw a different path? And so here we go. So I've been testing a few different prompts here, and this latest one is, when we get to a new level, can you reset the enemies to the beginning and draw a new path? So we have a path going on here. We're on level 1, and we've just gone to level 2. So we should just be able to click and create new items. Only I ran out of currency. So this is interesting. There's things like currency that allow you to buy different towers. We went to level 2, we had no towers, so it started again. I don't know that we'll get to level 3. This is a little bit more finicky to get going with this particular game, but the control of the application generation is still pretty spot on each time I make a change. Moving on to the next game, we've got Wordle here, and it's in the middle of just generating a prompt based on Wordle, and we're just going to copy it. I'm not even going to read it this time. We'll head over to Web. We insert the prompt and let it run, and now let's have a look at what's going on here. We've got a 5x6 grid where players input their guesses. We've got areas like incorrect colors, correct letter, wrong position, a correct letter, correct position, and it's still generating over here. The letters A to Z are the input letters for the current guess, and enter to submit the current guess. We can use the backspace key to delete the last letter from the page. So what happens if I press play? And then A, B, let's do that and press enter. Now we've got 2 that are the right letters, but in the wrong location. Now we'll try the word karma, press enter. We've got the A correct in the second position. The word navel, made an assumption with the first 2 A's that there would be 2 A's in it, but that might not be the case, and it's not. It's happy is the word. So it looks like the Wordle game worked the first time. So we've got this game, we can hit play on it, and we'll just type in happy, I think, and something is correct here. Let's try dance. And we got on the second go. Now, what might be useful at this point is, can we just right-click here and see the words that we've got available? So I've just put in, can you give me a list of the words that are available as a cheat? I did it by right-clicking down near the play again, but hopefully we're going to see a list of information behind the scenes, and we have it here. So let's try another word in jumbo. That was down the bottom there. And then we can go with dance again. Now it looks like it's going to be cactus, but that's not a 5-letter word, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's try that. And it works. So there's a bug in the software, but Apart from that, this is all working pretty well. We'd need to do a little bit of playing around with the code. We're nearly through the list. We're up to Tetris here. Then we've got Donkey Kong, and I believe there might be one other I need to do, but let's just head over to, can you describe the creation of the game Wordle, and we'll just change that to Tetris. And that's going through and generating a new requirement spec for us. So the graphics are going to be blocks, tetrominos with different colors. We've got clear and easily distinguishable blocks, smooth animation for falling and moving. That's pretty cool. Standard sort of game elements that we've seen before. When a row is complete, filled in with all the blocks, it disappears and the player earns some points. Game continues until the blocks stack up to the top of the playing field. Got the arrow keys going on, including spacebar to drop a block instantly. So as per usual, just paste it in, press go. So we have start of the game, Tetris Mandala, align the pieces, align your mind. And we've got the controls going on here. At the moment, it's still generating the page. A little bit of an animation has kicked in. So we'll hit play. Whoa, that is fast. So I've just added, can you please slow down the blocks to 1/4 of the speed? And we'll try pressing play. And now what? Is it too slow? Oh, yep. Okay, it's working, but it's too slow. But at least we can test it. Down arrow should take a space bar to drop it to the bottom. Okay, move it over, space bar, press the up arrow. I think what we can do is maybe drop that in here. We can do that. And the next one comes through. How are we going to test this? And hopefully we will see 2 lines disappear with this one. And they did. And the last bit to look at here is the score. It's currently 100. So as soon as this goes into place, it should change for us. 140. So the game's working straight away. There is an issue with the speed. Firstly, it was too fast, too slow. We can change that pretty easily, but very simple to create the game of Tetris. So far, we've built 8 games pretty quickly with WebSim.AI. From the list that we've got here, we've done everything except for Space Invaders. And I was going to work on Donkey Kong, and one of the problems I found when I looked at it was that it came out looking pretty poor, and I couldn't get the gameplay to work in an easy fashion. So I thought, why don't I change tact and go off on a new direction? Now, because I do a lot of work with AI agent frameworks, I thought, could there be a couple of games to make agent frameworks a lot easier to use? So the game idea I'm thinking of is Influencer Village. As a YouTuber, I need to create YouTube titles and descriptions, sometimes a LinkedIn post or a tweet. And I use GPTs to solve the problem. And we make a game that solves this in a more visual aspect. So I started designing some graphics in DALL-E 3. We've got pixel art style here and low poly style, and vector graphics as well as top-down 3D. So the image I think I'm going to go with is this, and we'll develop a requirement spec. Now, through a series of prompts, we've got this influencer village. You play a YouTube influencer navigating through a village to complete necessary tasks for publishing a YouTube video. Each villager has a role like keyword researcher, and these are essentially going to be GPT agents that do individual tasks. The way I think it'll work is that I'll move around from villager to villager using the arrow keys, and when you encounter someone, it says, can you help me with a task? And sure, what task would you like help with? These are the inputs I need. So something like a YouTube description needs a transcript to write it correctly. Now, because I'm going to use an image as the background, I need to know the coordinates. So I've also asked it to put in a debug option so that I can turn it on and off to see what the coordinates are for each villager. Got a bunch of other general sorts of information, but the last area is also the list of the villagers and their roles and the sort of input that's needed. So let's head over to WebSim.AI, and we've pasted in our technical requirements, and we'll just start it off. And things are starting to render right now. We've got the positions where the villagers will be, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of a debug screen here. Updated the prompt with where is the debug chart and the controls, and now we have a debug chart that we can turn on and off. Unfortunately, it's also one of the arrow keys, in this case the right arrow key, So we could change that, but I'm not so concerned. I'm more interested in knowing these numbers for when we put a image behind the background. I've also looking to add, when I move to a villager, I do not get an interaction, and we'll just put the information that we had in our requirements document and see if this improves things. And now we've got this E to interact with the villager. So if we move over, we've got press E to interact with the title creator. We'll press E, and we've got information showing up that would be a Q&A with that particular villager. So I think let's go and create a graphic and make it in the background. So looking through the graphics we've got here, my favorite would be this one, but I think the one that'll fit the shape the best might be this one. So I'm just going to click download on that. To keep the hosting simple, I'm just going to drag it into this product called Post Image. And what that'll do is upload the image and make it available as a public URL. We should be able to use that from our application. But here's the image, and we'll go and click on the direct link and head over to here where I've started. Can you add the following image as a background? And we'll just paste that in and click go. And we're getting a regeneration at the moment. There we go. So in theory, we should be able to move up to different people, interact with the title creator. We got the word title here. Now this image is generated in DALL-E 3, so it's got a whole lot of text issues, but it's still a working idea. Transcript converter, which would be the transcription manager right here. Now I mentioned that the coordinates could be off, so we got this coordinate here, and we can press the D and notice that the social media manager, which is down here, is 100 pixels to the right and 500 pixels down. And what we might want to do is move it to 250 pixels to the right or something like that. Now, let's go and download this application actually and do that manually. So we'll click on the download button that's just here, and we've got the HTML on our computer. We'll open it in VS Code. So I've got the game running locally from this JavaScript and HTML file that's going on here. So we can see the JavaScript around the positioning of the different villages, and we can see the image that we just uploaded being read into the background. So all of this we can alter. So I'll just press D, and we've now got our coordinates. And if we move around to different places, this says Social Media Manager on the villager profile, but here it says Transcript Converter. So that's the wrong position. And the one over here, which I think is the Social Media Manager, is what we pretty much want over here, maybe about that position. Go and change this value to 250, and this one will change to 580, and we'll hit save. Page refreshed. The numbers should be different down here. They are. Let's just move to the right, and this will be the Social Media Manager, which is great. This will be the Transcript Converter, and let's test the E and see what we get. We'll just press sure I can help you with a LinkedIn post conversion. Now, where I personally see a game like this being really useful in the sort of applications I build is as a new interface to the GPT workflow tool that I've been developing. So the idea of the tool is to isolate the different GPTs that you would call into a sequence or a series. And last week, using WebSim.AI, I developed this landing page where you could easily see the different phases of a GPT workflow and navigate to them. So what we could do now is take a screen like this, put it in the location that this one was going, and instead navigate around. And when you press E to interact, you can start communicating with the GPT in a more gamified approach. The last game that I want to develop here would be a YouTube script automation factory, and it'll work in a similar fashion to the Influencer Village, but rather than moving around different areas of the village, you would just move sequentially down a production line to build a YouTube script. What I've done is developed a few images that I like, and I'm either going to go with the one here or probably this one. There are others that have been developed over time. And the way I see it working is that you would start from a type of video that you want to create. You'd be doing things like script writing, quality assurance, getting a basic fact sheet. Now, this is something I do all the time. And so when I'm working with a GPT workflow, from basic idea, selecting an idea, building a fact sheet about a video I want to do, video ideas, and I have the ability to navigate to each of these different ideas, And I use this for creating actual videos on a faceless channel that I'm developing. Now, the channel's only a month old, so started off with this ideogram video, but basically every script that you've got here has been generated using a simple GPT workflow. And funnily enough, one of my first videos took off, 700 views a couple of days ago. So what I'd like to do is develop a requirement spec, and now that I look at it, I think this is the image we'll use as a background, and we'll see if we can automate or gamify the creation of YouTube scripts. So we'll start off by downloading an image. Now, this is the image I like the most, but from a straight line perspective, which will be easy for the coordinates, we'll work with this one instead. So we'll just click download within DALL-E 3 here. I've headed over to post image and I've uploaded the image we've got, and we're just copying the URL. Here's the requirements document for the YouTube Automation Factory. We have in the YouTube Automation Factory, your character is navigating through an assembly line, completing tasks necessary for creating YouTube videos. And then we've got a list of stations within the factory. Now, they're not the order I do them, but this is just the idea of creating the game. From there, we've also got the image, and we'll make sure that we've got the proper URL when we include it in the requirements spec. We've got the debug feature that we did before so that we can align the stations with the coordinates. This time, I'm just keeping the character's movement to left and right keys. But down the bottom, we've also got a list of stations that we can work with. Head over to WebSim.AI. We can just take all the information we've got. We've got it generating all the HTML and CSS behind the scene. We've got the background has kicked in, and we've got the stations. Now, obviously, they would need to go down in this angular format, and the D for the debug is working, so we can see all the coordinates. So they look a little odd. I don't know. Maybe it's on just one vertical axis, and so these are just the positions left and right. So we're probably going to need to put in a Y and an X coordinate. Now let's just see if the arrows are working. And it looks like next, can I help you with a fact sheet? And then there's a secondary question coming up, so I need the expanded fact sheet from which to work on. So I'm just going to bookmark this last one, and all the games that I've been building, I got the bookmarks in the YouTube description below. What we'll do right now is just download this so here's the HTML that we've got for the page set you're looking at, and everything works okay, but there are two problems. One is that it's only got a position coordinate, so it doesn't have a Y axis that we can configure. And the updating of the character position also does not actually follow the elements or the stations on screen. It's added two prompts. Can you modify it so that the Y coordinate is configurable? I also want the person to move to the next station. But let's have a look at the code comparison. Here we have the old on the left and the right is the new, and you can see that the coordinates are fixed on the old version. And in the JavaScript configuration, we now have an X and a Y coordinate rather than position. Also, the coordinates are being used when calculating locations. So let's see how this looks. So here's our YouTube Automation Factory, and we've got in the top right-hand corner the task completed, 0 of 7. If we press the D for debug, we should be able to see the coordinates for the different stations in the factory. And if we use the right keyboard, we should be able to move forward and see, hello, you can help me with determining the video type. And we just keep moving through the different tasks all the way to the best thing about this workflow is, like most of them, it takes about 10 minutes to recreate this particular application. So that was building 10 games with WebSim.AI. 8 of them were classics. 2 of them were the sorts of games or workflows that I might want in my GPT workflow engine. So if you're interested in ChatGPT or prompt engineering or different AI tools, then please like and subscribe or leave a comment down below. And the video over here on the side point you to the WebSim.AI demonstration that I did building a component for a GPT workflow.